Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ian with Out of This World Reader, and today's video is going to be another book chat on one of my most anticipated releases for this year. And that book on the agenda is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Just chef's kiss in my opinion. I think another contender for one of my favorites of the year. It's just tough. This month has just been a great month of reading. Like I mentioned, this was one of my most anticipated releases for this year. When I found out Andy Weir was going to be producing a book surrounding humanity's last chance and an astronaut with no memory, I was already hooked in. And I pre-ordered immediately. Oh, I didn't pre-order it because I got it in my book of the month because I was broke. But I knew that as soon as it was coming out and I could get my hands on a copy, you betcha I was going to. But it wasn't just the plot that drew me in initially. I loved his other books, Artemis and The Martian. Previously, I actually liked Artemis more than The Martian a little bit, and that's a bit skeptical because a lot of people didn't like Artemis very much, but I enjoyed it. But also, growing up, I lived in the middle of nowhere, and I was able to see the stars and everything that was going on during the night, and that kind of gave me a love for just sci-fi and space. So I've always had like a kind of a love for just books surrounding kind of space exploration and what's out there. And this book takes place in space if you didn't already know. But if you haven't heard of this yet, this is basically following an astronaut who wakes up on a spaceship with no memory of his past and kind of why he's on the spaceship. But slowly, as his memory starts to come back, he starts to uncover that his mission is involving the safety and the survival of the human race, and he has to kind of uncover what the truth is behind his mission and what he needs to do to save humanity. And from there, like, he starts to kind of gain more memories, and that allows him to kind of further his progression in that accomplishment. But other than that, like, I'm not going to give you anything more or else it'll just spoil and ruin the experience. And I'm not going to go much in depth in this kind of review. I'll just give you my overall thoughts and what I really enjoyed about this story. Because like I mentioned, to best experience this, it is to go in blind. And if I really go in depth, it'll give away spoilers, and I just can't trust myself not to just let something slip. So it'll just be kind of a shorter book chat, I'm hoping. I'm saying that now, but I probably will kind of expand this a lot more than I think I will. Similar to Artemis and The Martian, the humor throughout is just great. It's got those kind of classic dad jokes that we're all kind of used to in some of his other books, but it's also just got some different humor that I wasn't used to in the other books. I think I really enjoyed the humor in this one a lot more than those other two. I felt like in The Martian it was just kind of like at the wrong times. There was humor involved, and in Artemis I couldn't remember as much. I need to reread that. I know it's my favorite of his other two, but like I couldn't remember the humor. But in this one I can remember just throughout just constantly giggling and laughing, but being able to just laugh throughout the story made it really fly by, and I just enjoyed it so much. Like, I always have a good time with his books, but in this one, I just felt like it was a lot better, in my opinion, than those other two. It was close to kind of The Martian, The Martian. It was close to on that level. But with this one, it was just like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like the humor, in my opinion, was just better. Grace as a main character was very interesting to kind of learn more about as he gains his memories. For spoiler's sake, I won't go into depth about those memories. That being said, though, he was almost identical to Mark Watney in The Martian, and that wasn't a problem for me, but I feel like when I looked at some of the other reviews, a couple other booktubers were a bit bummed about that, but it wasn't a problem for me. And just in general, the plot felt very similar to The Martian, but just with a kind of different stakes. but I enjoyed it. Like, it was still good. Like, it didn't bother me at all. And also, for spoilers' sake, I will not go into detail, but I found a new favorite character, and once you read this, you will probably fall in love with this character as well. I was just like blown away with. I'm not going into depth, but just yes, new favorite character found. And the plot, like I enjoyed the plot a lot more than the kind of Martian and the Artemis, because human existence was basically at stakes. And I just love something like that where it's kind of like you're kind of on the edge, kind of waiting to figure out what's going to happen. And there were several times where I just lost track of time because I was just lost between the pages and just flying through the book. So I was just absolutely like immersed into the story and invested. And I read this in just a couple of days, and I think it's almost 500 pages, and that says a lot. Like, I was just breezing through it. But not only did it have that kind of like thrilling aspect, it also had kind of heartwarming moments where your heartstrings were just pulled and played with. And I can say that you know how I've been mentioning that I've been looking for a book to make me tear up or cry. And I will say that there was a couple points in this book where the tears were building up. They weren't falling, but they were building up. And I'm getting close to finding the book, but this one was very close. Being the nerd that I am, there's also some science involved throughout the story. And for the most part, like, it's grabbable for any reader without any kind of background knowledge. But at some points it can be a lot, and it was boring at times, even with me, with a kind of like a background in biology and physics and chemistry and all that. I know, like, Ian, you're a history professor, like, or not a history professor, but you're a history major. Like, how do you have this background? It's a long story, but I do have a little bit of background in there, and I just love learning more kind of about like science that I wasn't taught in university and in school. It included things both that intrigued me and scared me. And scared me because it made me question as to like what's really out there and what could actually happen and what would do. But intrigued me because, like I mentioned, I grew up with that love for space and just not knowing what was out there. And this covered some space exploration and just the future of just space in general, and I really enjoyed that. My overall thoughts, this was an easy 5 stars for me, and I absolutely loved it. It is a contender for book of the year, and it's gonna be tough choosing a favorite book for this month between this and Uprooted. It's gonna be a tough choice, and I don't know, I might just choose them both because they were both so great. But I can't say enough about this. Andy Weir has become an auto-buy author for me. I can't wait to just see what he produces in the future. I look forward to anything that he comes forward. Let me know your thoughts on this if you've read it, and if you plan on reading it. I really hope you do. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll be laughing throughout, having a good time. You might tear up a little bit, and you might learn something that you didn't know prior. But that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all have a good day as well. Please consider liking and subscribing so you never miss out on another adventure. I'll make sure to leave my social media handles down below if you want to connect with me as well. And to leave you on a message from Ellie. She said that adventure is out there. And I'll catch you next time. Bye.